AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride!
Hour 2, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. I'm Matt.
This is Shaq O'Neal, and I hate Matt.
Paul O'Neal.
They're chanting Paul O'Neal's name.
Muso. And Mr. Toby Tom Clay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Ross Jackson, bottom of this hour. Talk Saints minicamp. Baseball Tigers have added another portal pitcher. Get to that in a dozen minutes from right now. Lane Kiffin was a guest on Tyrann Mathieu's podcast, In the Bayou with Tyrann Mathieu. That dropped here on Wednesday. Interesting. One observation of Lane Kiffin, and this is not a criticism, it's just an observation. I don't think Lane has much desire to do any local media. And I remember all the years that we've gone to SEC football media days, and of course Lane has been the Ole Miss coach for the last 6, and some of, quite just very candidly, some of my best friends in media in the conference cover Ole Miss. Really we've had our buddy Chase Parham here, Neil McCready, Richard Cross from Super Talk Mississippi, people that I like very much as friends and have tremendous respect for professionally. And it's been interesting because now I get to experience what they observed over the years, which is that all those years of media days, Lane never came to Radio Row. And Richard, who also does sidelines, will do a lot for the Ole Miss Network, would kind of get whisked away and maybe get like 3 to 5 minutes with Lane in a private room, and then he was up about his day and it was gone. And it's pretty interesting because Lane kind of is a little bit of he's kind of an enigma in that respect because he's so public on social media, but he's such a private person, if that makes sense. Kind of a weird thing. So I don't think Lane does a lot of local media because I think in his impression is fans are going to think whatever they're going to think of him in the local market based on if he wins or loses. If he wins, they're going to love him. If he loses, they're going to hate him, and there's nothing he can say to change it. But nationally, I think he tries to create and craft and shift the narrative about him however he can. Remember last year about this time is when the documentary dropped, right? It was about Lane Kiffin sort of rehabbing his image. I think those things mean a lot. I think it's why he does the Vanity Fair piece. It's why he does the Barstool deal with what was that show called? Pardon My Take? PMT? Pardon My Take?
Yeah, pardon my take.
I think it's why he does those things. So I think it's why he'll sit down with Tyrann because he thinks that has a far wider ranging reach. Which, whatever, just an observation about how he goes about his things. But look, it's really cool to see Lane Kiffin sit down with Tyrann Mathieu. He's one of the greatest players in LSU football history. And golly, it's just so much love and admiration for Tyrann because of his continued love, admiration, support for LSU, despite the way it ended. LSU kicked him off the team. Now, it was his doing, but he still comes back and loves LSU. He's given money. I mean, there's like the building, there's rooms in the football ops that are named, like the locker room, whatever, is named after Tyrann because of the money he gives. He's been awesome. Awesome. Great ambassador. Like, everyone loves Tyrann's story, the great American comeback story. He was down and out, picked himself up, husband, father, family man, great NFL career, all pro, all that stuff. Awesome. And, Tyrann Tyrann last week with the Sorsby stuff tweeted like, hey, man, can I get a judge in Louisiana, give the Honey Badger a couple more years of eligibility? And Lane Kiffin joked about that with him today.
Well, 30. I thought it was 33 because I looked it up when I seen these other players like keep getting injunctions and they say they can play. If they have a year left and everything. I was like, what about Honey Badger?
Yeah,
but Wikipedia said 33. So, to gain a lot of tempo now. So we got to get you in some condition.
Got to get in some good shape.
We know the playmaking's there, the ability to cover. I don't worry about any of that. But the game's fast now with tempo, so we're gonna have to get some cardio work in before you come back.
Wouldn't worry about that. I mean, 2011, of course, the entire offseason was spent getting ready for Oregon. That much I don't know what to worry about with Tyrann, but good joke there by Lane. Two newsworthy things that came out of this podcast. One was about the impact. This is Lane talking about the impact Ed Orgeron has already had on this program.
It's even better than I thought. Before, he's just recruiting for the place he's at and using all of his recruiting, skills. Now you feel it in here. We do these meetings with the kids and he talks about, especially to Louisiana kid, it's in your DNA. At some point you wanted to play for LSU. You wanted to be a Tiger, but you feel in him because that was him. He talks about when he was 10 years old and he met the coach of LSU and he told his daddy, he's like, I'm going to LSU, no matter what. Yeah. So he had that in there. So like anything, if you recruit someone and you have the passion and you had their story, I mean, the parents, the kids are cool.
I do love that Lane, whenever he talks about Orgeron, he keeps saying daddy. In the PMT interview, he's talking about Mike the Tiger, and he said, Coach, I know the Tiger. I know his daddy. Because you can hear Orgeron saying that, which is great. You can tell those two have had a great relationship for a long time. And I think the interesting thing here in Lane say it there, I mean, we all saw the viral videos, right? But Lane sort of validating that with those comments is really interesting. The other thing that is super important, of course, is Sam Leavitt's health. In my opinion, there is literally no bigger storyline than Sam Leavitt's health, because my contention is if Leavitt's healthy and plays a full season, LSU can be a playoff team. I'm not predicting they will be. I'm saying they can be. If Leavitt is not healthy and you have to rely on the inexperience of Longstreet and Clark, then I think this is a 7-8 win team, and I think there's going to be a lot of really disappointed people. So you need Leavitt healthy. Here was Kiffin with the update.
He's doing well. He's been out there now and pretty much full strength now. Really good arm, really smart. I mean, he's in there just grinding all the time on stuff. NFL mindset quarterback from preparation standpoint. Now we just got to put everything together in year one. A little bit late because now he's just finally cleared now and a lot of new pieces around. So it's going to be a big summer and fall camp.
Saying he's cleared is a big deal. So big summer, fall camp, you missed the 15 practices of spring, you missed the timing, all of that stuff. Trey Green earlier this week in the interview with Jacques Doucet at his camp says he's out there throwing and catching with Sam Leavitt every day and all the quarterbacks, but really it's about Leavitt getting those reps with the receivers, the pass catchers, the timing, the cadence, all the things they missed throughout spring. You got to make up that time now in June and July before fall camp so you're ready to roll. So you need Leavitt to be healthy. Sounds like he is. We saw the video of him dunking on the goal post in the indoor facility. Looks pretty good. Kiffin said at SEC spring meetings, the GPS had Leavitt up to 21 miles an hour. Now he's saying he's cleared. All of that very, very positive moving forward for Sam Leavitt and the LSU Tigers. But by the way, there was also another one about quarterbacks, and this is just sort of structurally and systematically. I think it's so interesting, too, whenever you think about the style of quarterback that Kiffin has. Tyrann asked Lane, does he have to have a dual-threat quarterback?
Yeah, we don't need to run them very much, They can be throwers, which we prefer throwers that can get out of trouble. Because the game comes down to so many times that the play is not in rhythm, the guy's not open, or someone comes free. What does the quarterback do on third down? And can he find a way to make that guy miss, like what we just talked about, Trinidad the Sugar Bowl in Georgia and guys are coming free. And it's like, we can do all this coaching, design, everything, but does the guy make the guy miss and make the play? And that's what we look for in a quarterback, that, yes, we want them to be elite throwers, but they got to be able to move around. Yeah. The old, at least for us, we don't want the old school, way back pro style, sit there and can't move around with the big arm. They just don't make enough plays for you out of rhythm.
Trinidad Chambliss was Ole Miss's second leading rusher a year ago. In 2024, Jackson Dart was Ole Miss's second leading rusher. In 2023, Jackson Dart was the third leading rusher, but had the second most rushing attempts. You take away the sack yardage, he would have been the second leading rusher. 2022, same thing, where you went Quinshon Judkins, Zach Evans, and then Jackson Dart. You can just look through the years, man, of Matt Corral in 2021, behind Ely and Connor. In 2020, Corral was the second leading rusher behind Jerrion Ely. Like, I got 6 years of evidence that shows you quarterback is going to run. It's going to be the second or third leading rusher on the team. So, yeah, they're not recruiting a statue. There's a style, a mold of quarterback they want, and he continues to show that over and over again. But they got into a lot about strategy and players today. But the thing that probably is the thing that every LSU fan wants to hear is cut 11 is Lane Kiffin effectively calling a shot?
I don't know how fast it's going to happen. We're going to win a national championship. We're going to have the teams and the rosters back to the way that they were playing when they were great. I don't know how fast. That might not be today, right. But it's going to happen, and I feel it in recruiting too. When these kids come in here, and now that we got our staff fully here and we know how to sell LSU too, because now we're meeting up people and know the restaurants and the areas and the people, like, it's 101. Yeah. What Nick Saban said. Yeah. It's the best job in America.
Lane Kiffin. It's the reason he's here, man. He's here to win a natty. Not telling you he's going to be here for a decade, 15 years, and maybe 5 years. But feels like he's got the resources and the systems in place to get it happen. It may not. He keeps hedging on this year. It may not be year one, but he believes it's going to happen. Wouldn't doubt him. All right, it's After Further Review. We're brought to you by Our Lady of the Lake, where we remind you success starts long before Saturday nights in Tiger Stadium. In the offseason, in recovery, in the work that happens between games and seasons. Well, that's why Lane Kiffin and the players like Sam Leavitt, Whit Weeks, Trey'Dez Green, Jordan Seaton, they trust FMOL Health, Our Lady of the Lake, with their health care. That trust is backed by a health system that's growing, thriving, serving communities across Louisiana and Mississippi. More than 20,000 team members, $5 billion of network care, and not one but two exceptional workplace awards from Gallup. And as LSU's championship health partner, the Lake cares for the student athletes year-round. And that same expertise, trusted by LSU, is available to you and your family every single day. FMOL Health, Our Lady of the Lake, and LSU. Together, we roar. Learn more at fmolhealth.org/LSU. fmolhealth.org/LSU. All right, it's After Further Review. We're glad you're hanging out with us here. We'll knock out a quick break. Ross Jackson in 15 minutes from right now. When we come back, baseball Tigers add another commit. We'll tell you about it next on AFR.
AFR.
My goodness, we're sitting here talking so much about NIL and great supporters of the Tigers and who's pushing forward with LSU athletics. Few have done it as well as Gordon McKernan. Get Gordon and get it done. You can always go to getgordon.com, getgordon.com, getgordon.com. So many ways that Gordon McKernan gives back to the communities that he serves. Yes, more than $3 billion. $3 billion in judgments for his clients. Incredible when you think about that in totality. But also the great NIL deals he's done with members of the G team. The laptop giveaway around graduation. The bicycle giveaway for the less fortunate around the Christmas holidays. Gordon just did the gas card giveaway. The garage, the podcast studio Gordon built out that he lets anybody use. Just reserve the time. He's the best. It's Gordon McKernan. GetGordon.com, getgordon.com. Get Gordon and get it done. Want a metal shed in your backyard? Proform Steel can make that happen. Need a giant metal building for your business? Proform Steel can make that happen. Maybe it's at your industrial facility. You need a metal building. Proform Steel can make that happen. Brandon Golson and his team, they're the best. In-house architects, in-house engineers. Every single building, by the way, at Proform Steel, every single building. You buy a building from them, they deliver it for free. Doesn't matter. Small, large, medium, doesn't matter. You buy a building, they will deliver it for free. It's Proform Steel. Metal buildings, built right, from design to delivery. They're the best, and you can start that process getting your free quote right now at the website proformla.com, proformla.com, proformla.com for Proform Steel. Check them out online, proformla.com.
After further review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
Well, Derek Curiel has very likely played his last game for the LSU Tigers. I don't think that's any great shock to anybody. But he's going to go on his way out to pro ball with another really cool honor. Rawlings has just, in the last half hour or so, announced the Division I Gold Glove Award winners, and Derek Curiel is among the outfielders who have been honored with a Rawlings Gold Glove. So Carson Tinney from Texas, the catcher, first baseman from UCLA. He'd do great on Will Wade's team.
He would do great on Will Wade's team, for sure. Will doesn't have any of the Samoans, though. Needs one.
Gavin Galler, the second base from North Carolina. Braden Jeffries, third baseman from Michigan. Colby Branch from Georgia, the shortstop. A little surprised not to see Milam there. Granted, I'm a homer, but Milam was he good this year. And then Curiel, Ty Het from NC State, and Hudson Miles from Lipscomb are your outfielders. And the pitcher, the pitching Golden Glove went to Nick Lewis of Washington State. So congrats to Derek Curiel, who wins Gold Glove, one of the three outfielders to win a Gold Glove in his sophomore season here at LSU, which is very likely his last. Because we're all anticipating Curiel will be a first-round draft pick, and he'll sign for somewhere in the neighborhood of $3 to $5 million and go start his pro career and hopefully not be long for the major leagues. But congrats to Derek Curiel, who's been named a Rawlings Gold Glover. A great honor for the All-American outfielder. Now we turn our page to what's next for LSU baseball. We've talked about Jay Johnson's portal class so far and the handful of additions, and man, they have really gone at the upper crust of the portal. It hasn't. People have asked, a year ago when LSU had the top portal class, what's the difference? We talked about this a year ago, how good their portal class was, and this team ended up 9-21 in conference play, which is absolutely true. And what they did a year ago, at the risk of oversimplifying, this year as opposed to last year, is they're going quality over quantity. It's not to say they didn't sign quality players, but the quantity a year ago was hedging their bet. When you go sign Trent Caraway and Dardar and Simpson, you effectively signed three of the same guys. Three guys that had good power numbers, didn't necessarily hit for average, and were average to poor defensively. Well, if none of them popped with their power numbers, like none of them did, then you had three subpar defenders who couldn't hit at this level. And that's what you got stuck with, and that's why you ended up with a freshman in Jack Ruckert at second and a sophomore at third base in John Pearson hitting .250. And then obviously there was Zach York at first base, who was a giant liability, both literally and figuratively. So now you look at what they've added, and they've gone at the upper crust. Bino Waters is a day one starter at the corner outfield spot. Dawson Park will play third base on the left side of the infield. I had some people ask me, would Dawson Park play short and Milam move to second or third? No. The money that you're investing in Milam, and the reason he's coming back, he's not moving positions. Milam's going to be your shortstop for 56 games and however many you play in the postseason. And Cade Curlin's going to play second. Dawson Park's going to play third. But you've gone out there and you've added guys that are elite defenders who have proven they can hit for average, some for power, like Curlin, who's got a 17-homer season at 9 this past year. But even if they don't hit for power, you've got elite defenders who can hit for average, good bat-to-ball skills, all that stuff, which you haven't done yet really to this point is add pitching. Well, that's starting to change. They added Landon Hood from Gonzaga, who many consider the top right-hander in the portal, and now they've added their second pitcher in this portal class, and it's Diego Velazquez from Southern Cal. Interesting thing about Velazquez is he's a two-way guy. So he was a shortstop and a really elite-level shortstop coming out of high school. As a matter of fact, and Hunt noted this over at LouisianaSports.net, Velazquez was ranked the 5th best shortstop in California and the 15th overall player in his class when he signed with USC. So, high-level guy. Now, we only got 18 at-bats this year as a freshman at Southern Cal, and he hit 167. He was 3 for 18. That ain't great. But LSU's recruiting him as a pitcher. He's a right-handed pitcher, and some of the feedback I got today on Velazquez, they expect to have him for 2 years. This is not a one-year guy, and he's not draft eligible next year. So you're going to have him for 2 years, and they expect to have him for 2 years. He is expected to be a high-leverage reliever in 2027, and then in line to be, if he progresses, a frontline starter in 2028. That's the expectation for Velazquez, for Diego Velazquez. High leverage reliever this year, opportunity to be a frontline starter in 28, because remember, there's a really good shot going into 28. You're going to lose Evans. You're going to lose Schmidt. Moore will be out of eligibility. So those 3 guys are all gone after 2027. So you're going to have a great opportunity. So you tell this guy, come in for 2 years. Leverage reliever, will develop you. Then you'll be starting in 2028, ship you off to pro ball after that. So I love that. He's 6'1", 200 pounds, 4.55 ERA, struck out 34 across his 13 appearances. Again, 29 2/3 innings with 34 strikeouts. So more than a strikeout per inning pitched. And this is a team that clearly needs to fortify its relievers, right? Devin Sheeran's off the pro ball. Santiago Garcia, very likely. The expectation is he signs. Gavin Guidry sat in the studio and said he's ready to start his pro career. Zach Cowan is out of eligibility. It's a lot of innings out of the bullpen that you're losing. Maverick Rizzi is transferred to Ole Miss. So you need relievers because Jay Johnson has said it point blank. The improvement on this pitching staff is going to come with the guys already here and developing to their potential. Evans, Schmidt, Moore, Paz, Ricken, all those guys. You bring in Landon Hood from Gonzaga. We'll see if he's a reliever, if he competes to be in the rotation. Cooper Williams is back. I know they loved him a year ago. A lot of conversations I had with people in the program is they really hoped Williams would take a giant leap like Cade Anderson did and maybe earn a spot as a left-hander in the rotation. Maybe that happens this year for Cooper Williams. Either way, the point is they feel like among that group of a half dozen arms that I just mentioned, they got enough guys that they'll figure out their 3-man rotation for the weekend. They're going to need arms that can give them length and leverage spots and get outs and leverage spots. And they feel like they got one here in Diego Velazquez, who will give them that leverage reliever in 2027, potentially start in 2028. Now, I was also told LSU is going to use 2 more relievers next week. And a lefty and a righty. I am really, really, really interested to see what's going to happen with the portal from the left side. Because as of right now, you've got Cooper Williams, you've got Plog, you got Lockenmeyer coming back. That's 3. You'd love to have another one, maybe 2, but at least one more. And I think that's, as I understand it, that's the priority. And I don't have the name yet. If I get the name, I'll pass it along to you. But they are hosting a lefty next week. That is the priority. The righty that they're going to host is someone we've told you about already. Kid who spent this year in Louisiana, Thomas Allen from Louisiana Tech. Righty, mid-upper 90s. And this is a guy that a lot of big-time schools are going to be after. As I understand it, it's down to LSU, Ole Miss, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. And of those, Arkansas and Oklahoma are probably making the biggest push. So it's going to be a battle to try to get Allen to LSU, but that's a big power righty that they're trying to get down here, and it's going to cost to get him. I don't know necessarily that LSU is going to get outbid. I think, what Oklahoma is going to pitch is like, if you'll forgive the pun, but I do love a pun. What Oklahoma is going to pitch, unintentional, but I do love it, is Skip Johnson. Skip Johnson's a pitching guru. I mean, Clayton Kershaw has raved about Skip Johnson for years, and they are going to pitch his development at OU. LSU got work to do in that respect after what happened this season with that staff. Opportunity will be there. I think money will be there. See what they can do. They've got one in addition to Landon Hood. And as I told you, the objective was to add 2 or 3 relievers. They've got one now in Velazquez. They're going to host a couple of more next week, a lefty and a righty. They really want to get the lefty. The righty, Thomas Allen from Louisiana Tech, is another we're going to keep an eye on, but might be an OU lean at this point. So we'll keep you posted as that develops. All right, it's After Further Review. Thanks for hanging out with us here. We're brought to you by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, lmfj.com. lmfj.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Summer's here. See it every single year about this time. People go to the beach, they come back, and then on the Instagram, the gram, as the kids call it, there's those photos down on bended knee with the wind blowing in her hair. I don't have that problem. Maybe that long grass, up by the little wooden fence leading up to the resort or wherever you're staying in the background, blowing in the wind, or the ocean behind you with the beautiful sunset. Down on bended knee, popping the question. If you're thinking of popping the question, you need to go to Lee Michaels. They've been helping Louisianians get engaged for 4 decades. Thrill her with a gift in the red box. If it's engagement time, maybe you're celebrating an anniversary, graduation, or just because. Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Beautiful jewelry, great selection, and always the Lee Michaels experience. I'm telling you, you go to many charity events, hard to go to any of them in this town without seeing that red box because Lee Michaels is so charitable. There's many ways they give back to the community. lmfj.com, lmfj.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. All right, it's After Further Review. Halfway home here on a Hump Day edition of AFR presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Thanks for hanging out with us. Lot to do still as we roll through the remainder of this show. Let me knock out a quick break. We'll come back. We're a little late. Ross Jackson's going to join us when we come back from LouisianaSports.net. He was out at Saints mandatory minicamp today. We'll get his takeaways. Don't you move. It's AFR.
AFR.
You want to beautify your outdoor space, and let's be honest, who doesn't? Clegg's Nursery can help you do it. You want to find those beautiful flowers to add to your flower bed, your patio pots. We have, I told you, we just sort of redid our outdoor space. Erica just bought some new outdoor patio furniture, like in our outdoor kitchen area. And it was like couch, chairs, all that sort of stuff. And there's a circular coffee table. And she found this beautiful orange flower. I don't know what it is, but she found it at Clegg's. And it's all weather. It's thriving right there, even though it's under the patio for most. Just get it some sunlight. We water it every day, but thriving. Beautiful centerpiece. If it's something like that, something simplistic like that, or things like dipldenias that or caladiums, you want to line your flower beds, your patio pots around your pool, your flower beds, your outdoor space. Clegg's has an awesome selection and the know-how to get you what you need. So get by any of the 4 Clegg's Nursery locations. Buy local, shop local at Clegg's Nursery.
After Further Review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
Yeah, it has more to do with this being year 2. Flow, operation, a ton of installation last offseason with a new staff, obviously, and everyone teaming together. And so this year I felt like we were in a much better place and ready to get into an 11-on-11 setting.
Kellen Moore, after mandatory minicamp, talked about how much more 11-on-11 that they did this year as opposed to last year. Kind of makes sense. install a year ago. Now kind of hit the ground running a little bit more despite some new personnel. Ross Jackson was out there, LouisianaSports.net, locked on Saints. He's with us now. Yo, man, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. 11 on 11, more of it. What did you see?
A whole lot of it. Yeah, it's funny. They didn't really start doing any of that until they got to training camp last year. This year, they've kind of gone into it a little bit earlier. And it's been an evolution even still. When we came out here for the first OTAs, for instance, and rookie minicamps, they were just doing 7-on-7. And then all of a sudden, in the right smack dab in the middle of OTAs, all of a sudden, there's a team drill. And then they started doing some team drills. And then now they've kind of gotten to the point where they've done 2 team drills and a 7-on-7 drill over the course of the last little bit. So heavier workload. And yeah, the installment's a big part of it. But look, I also think that this is a head coach that's learned that, man, more work is better than less work. There were some short practices last year. There were some, practices to where they didn't have the team drills and things like that. So I do believe it is about the installation, but I also think that this is just an example of Kellen Moore evolving as a head coach and understanding that, hey, we should be doing more of this from a practical standpoint once they get the opportunity to do it. And so this is a good step forward versus what we saw last year at this time.
That's really interesting because that was one of the things last year that Kellen Moore maybe was commended on, was the fact that the veterans really liked the short practices. It kept them fresh. Are we seeing a change there?
I don't know if we're going to see a change in terms of the full length of practices. I think that he wants everybody to have access to their recovery time and all those things still being a part of it. But I do think that there is a such thing as maybe more efficient use of that time and more efficient use of the practice. It might still be shorter and therefore allowing them time to get that recovery time. But there is, a world in which it's like, hey, now let's go earn the recovery time first and make sure that, the heavier workloads are in there. And they'll have days to where, they'll practice 3 days in a row, and that third day will be more of a walkthrough day or a lighter day and things like that. But I do think that there is a little bit maybe more of a demand for, implementation in a more practical nature sooner rather than later. And I think that's a positive step.
All right, Ross, give me a few takeaways, man, for the 2 days of mandatory minicamp. What stood out?
Yeah, I mean, the number one big thing, of course, was around Cam Jordan coming back. But beyond just actually signing the contract and all that, I think one of the things that you now see from this team is a really good established approach to leadership for a team that we thought might be without veteran leadership going into this 2025 or 2026 season, or at least have taken a considerable loss there. So that would be a big part of it. The second thing that I would say is that we watched the defense and offense go back and forth quite a bit over the course of OTAs and mandatory minicamp. Offense makes a play, defense makes a play, all that. Oftentimes when we're in this OTA minicamp phase, it's very offense forward. And I think we saw a little bit more of the more even match between both sides, which would be good things for the defense. But I'm very, very interested, and this would be the kind of third takeaway, very, very interested to see how that grows and changes with how versatile this offense is. I mean, they ran so many different personnel packages, so many different substitutions, players lining up at a bunch of different places, especially skill position guys like tight ends and wide receivers. I think the versatility and deployment of this offense in 2026 is going to be super interesting to watch.
At Ross Jackson NOLA is where you can follow him, LouisianaSports.net and Locked On Saints. Maybe there was something, we'll get to Cam in a second here, Ross, but if there was something else newsy today, it was that the Saints announced 3 signings. Yeah, okay. Give me a takeaway there.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because you sign these players and then you go on break for a month. And so it's interesting timing in terms of doing that. But I think it shows how much they wanted these guys on the roster. They bring Hunter Deckers back, which we've been reporting over at LouisianaSports.net that was kind of like written on the walls for quite some time, basically since April. We've known that was eventually going to be the case post the UFL season. And so Hunter Deckers coming back makes sense, much like the Cam Jordan piece makes sense. Those two are returns. But the Jalen Moreno-Cooper signing from the UFL is an interesting one. And then the Tanner Brown signing from the UFL is also interesting. Jalen Moreno-Cooper kind of comes over as a 6 foot, 160 169-pound, very slight wide receiver that averaged over 40 yards per kick return in his handful of kick returns last year. So you can kind of already see the special teams avenue there for him, another potential returner being added to there. And, they lost Damian Alford due to injury last week. They ended up waiving him with an injury designation. So there's a wide receiver for wide receiver swap there. And then Mason Shipley, who was signed as an undrafted free agent coming out of Texas Longhorns, he ends up being waived, and then they bring in a guy that was 25 of 28 and perfect in the postseason for his UFL team in Tanner Brown. So good competition here now when it comes to kicker for Charlie Smith. Mason Shipley was a little shaky, barely took any kicks, if any kick at all, that we saw beyond 50 yards, but missed more than a handful of kicks in the very few times we got to see him kick. And so I think that, just the Saints had an option to be able to go with a guy that's kicked in, that kind of spring league format, and they wanted to bring somebody in to come and challenge and continue to push Charlie Smith. And Tanner Brown's a really intriguing option there with a really good leg, hit a 63-yarder in the postseason for the UFL, or in the UFL just this last year.
Okay, maybe burying the lead a little bit, but Cam Jordan back, reaction.
Yeah, I mean, this is the way it should have been. Cam Jordan belongs in the black and gold. He deserved an opportunity to come back for a 16th season and continue to further his Hall of Fame bid and to do it where it all started, which has always been his goal. Just like his dad, who played 13 years, tight end Steve Jordan with the Minnesota Vikings, he wanted to be a lifer with his organization. He said that over and over again. The Saints have not been shy about the fact that they wanted him back. They told him on the way, into the offseason, basically like, hey, or I think it might have been a couple off seasons ago, Cam told the story yesterday, that he was basically told, hey, anytime that you always have a job here. You're always welcome here. And he went and he looked at other options, things like that over the course of the offseason, but eventually, gets led back here. It's on a 1-year deal. It's incentive heavy. We expect it'll be his final season. I think it can be one of the best stories in the NFL in 2026, watching, that legacy continue to grow as he leaves behind eventually after this year, something really special here in New Orleans. And so I think the Saints bringing him back makes them a better team. And I think it's the best situation for him. Just plainly put, I think the Saints are a better team with him on the roster than with him off the roster. And especially after not having, a big swing at defensive end, whether it be in the draft or free agency this offseason, keeping the trio of him, Carl Granderson, and Chase Young together while the additions of Anthony Jennings and Tyree Wilson find their way. I think that's a really good core set of experienced edge rushers to go into the season with.
You had Chris Rumph to that mix, that's 6th. Mm-hmm. They're not keeping all those guys, Ross. Who do you think's the odd man out?
Yeah, I mean, look, Chris Rumph is a really valuable piece, even though he doesn't have a lot of contributions on his ledger on the defensive side. He's been a core special teamer for the team. He's got a long-standing relationship with Brandon Staley. But if you just look at the acquisition of all these players, Cam's got a job here. He was plainly told that. Chase Young and Carl Granderson aren't going anywhere. They sign Anthony Jennings and bring him in as one of the best run defenders in the NFL at his position. And then they make that trade for Tyree Wilson. I would dare say that it's a battle between Tyree Wilson and Chris Rumph to see who outlasts the situation there, right? Now, the difference becomes, do they continue to look at all these players as stand-up edge rushers, or do any of them become hands in the dirt, quote-unquote, interior defensive ends? Think about the way that they used Brian Brzee last year, who didn't necessarily play a defensive tackle role, but who played a defensive tackle role, but more of a defensive end role, who lined up over offensive tackles. And so if any of those guys end up shifting inside, then that ends up maybe giving them an additional pathway to the roster, despite the number of edge rushers in it.
He's Ross Jackson, LouisianaSports.net, and Locked On Saints. Anything else from the 2-day mandatory minicamp we should be talking about before they head into a month-long siesta?
Yeah, I do think that one notable return, really it's been over the past 2 days, 2 notable returns with the 2 rookies from Georgia. Oscar Delp, who had the hamstring injury the second week of OTAs, was back and very involved in both days of OTAs. The way they continue to use this kid is really, really interesting, and the way that he moves around and the way that they utilize him out of a bunch of different spots. He's going to be super fun to watch all throughout training camp, preseason, going into the regular season as we expect his role to grow. And then today was a huge day for Christian Miller, who finally got an opportunity to get out there during the team drills. And so the defensive tackle out of Georgia, who's drafted in the second round, obviously a high investment there, a top 50 investment. And so finally getting him out on the field, and he looks good. He's fierce. He moves well. He's powerful, all that. that's going to be a player that can have a massive impact on this team's chase to continue to get better on the run side of the ball and defensive side. They finished there strong last year on run defense. I think they want to keep that going, and Christian Miller can be a big part of that.
All right, man, go chill for a month.
No.
Good.
We have so much more to do, Matt.
I know. Try. You and I both know good and well. Of course, you can read him at LouisianaSports.net. Listen or watch over at Locked On Saints, always free. And, of course, at Ross Jackson Nola. You're the best. Thanks, man. We appreciate you.
Thank you, dude. You take care. Stay safe. Talk to you soon.
All right, that is Ross Jackson. It's After Further Review. We're brought to you by Rouse's, the official supermarket of the Saints, Rouse's.com. Rouse's.com. Look at that. You know what we call that right there? That, my friends, is a tomahawk ribeye. That's beautiful. Look at that thing. Look at the marbling. I want it right now. I'm talking about Rouse's, of course. You go check out the Rouse's Facebook page. They got photos from their butcher section, and that I don't know which butcher that is. I can read his name tag. It says Taylor. I can't read the last name. Doesn't matter. But Taylor chopped him up a beautiful tomahawk ribeye over at Rouse's. Man, you want a tomahawk ribeye? You want some ground meat for burgers? My goodness, over at Rouse's, their butcher in-house, serving it up. Awesome every single day. Father's Day is here. Maybe you want desserts. Maybe you want bourbons. Maybe you want kebabs. Whatever it is, sausage to throw on the grill. Great gifts for Dad or anything you're looking for this weekend to celebrate Dad. Make sure you get it at Rouse's, the official supermarket of the Saints. Rouse's.com, 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 Rouse's. This feels like home. All right, y'all, it's After Further Review. Musil do Tigers in the Pros. We'll wrap up hour number 2 when we come back. Trey Segura, LSU running back commit, will be with us in 14 minutes from right now. Looking forward to that conversation. Don't you move. It's AFR.
AFR.
This is a first world problem, okay, admittedly. First world problem. But one of the most annoying, frustrating things imaginable is when you type in a web address and then you just see the little spinning wheel. And, you need to go. And it's just dragging. And I got an idea to be done with that forever. Home or office. Rev Fiber. REV. RevFiber.com. 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 Check it out. I practice what I preach. Erica and I, we are Rev customers at the Moscona household. Parish Construction and Roofing. Guarantee Media. We're Rev customers. Highly recommend you give Rev a call. Okay? Home, office, high-speed internet, automation, security, phone. They do it all. Do it better than anyone. RevFiber.com.
After Further Review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
Wrapping up hour number 2. LSU running back commit Trey Segura. Be here in about 10 minutes. Right now, Mutsu. Tigers in the Pros.
Tigers in the Pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now.
First save of the season for former Tiger Jaden Hill. We were talking the other day about, no. Asheville or Ashdown, Arkansas.
Nope.
Yep, that's where he came from. I looked it up. Couldn't remember. Once I saw it, I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. Shutout inning. Perfect inning, as a matter of fact. No hits, nobody reached. And his first save of the year, that was against the Cubbies. Alex Bregman in that ball game. Nope. Alex Bregman in that ball game. 0 for 3, 2 punch-outs. He did walk twice, however, but the Rockies got the win 5-2. Josh Smith. There we go. Yep. Of course, his first start in 6 weeks for the Texas Rangers last night. Went 1 for 4 in the ball game. It was a single for Smith. Played second and third base again, working his way back in after an injury and a bout with viral meningitis. But good to see him back out on the field. Dylan Cruz saw his modest 5-game hit streak come to an end on Tuesday night, but little matinee baseball in the Capitol here earlier today, and Cruz bouncing back 1 for 4, drove in a run as well, his 14th of the year. His hit was a single. Alex Lang on the other side. No. On the other side for the Kansas City Royals. Pitched a shutout inning of relief to close out the ball game. Identical line to Jaden Hill. Nobody reached, and it was great for Lang. To minor league baseball, a couple things to note here. Cole Henry, perfect inning of relief in AAA in the Nats organization with a strikeout. And how about Javen Coleman? His first save. No. His first save of the year at the AA level. Pitched an inning, did not allow a run. Struck out 2, 3.65 ERA so far. He's on the same team as Cade Doty, the New Hampshire Fisher Cats. That is Tigers and Pros. Doty went 0 for 4, by the way, with a punch out.
Right about Evermore. EVAMOR. Evermore.com. Evermore.com. Shout out. Keep shouting out the great people. Oh, there it is. Sorry. LSU got another commitment. Third of the day. Forgive me. That's why I'm trying to get this. Evermore, the kid who just committed to LSU, clearly an Evermore drinker. You fly through Dallas, shout out to Dallas Love Field. They got Evermore throughout that airport. Still waiting. Hey, BTR, MSY, what's your problem? Get Evermore in your airport, you dorks. I'm just kidding. I love you. You're great. Great at what you do. But drink Evermore and carry it. EVAMOR, Evermore.com, Evermore.com. Okay, LSU breaking news. Breaking news. LSU has another commitment. His name is Isaiah Whitehead. His brother committed earlier today for 2027. This guy's an offensive lineman for 2028. All right, we got a lot to do. AFR.
AFR.
Brought to you by Parrish Construction and Roofing, parrishbuilt.com, parrishbuilt.com, parrishbuilt.com. Do business with someone you know, Parrish Construction and Roofing, and take advantage of the Louisiana Department of Insurance right now, opening up their window for 3,000 Louisiana homeowners to receive a grant up to $10,000 to install a fortified roof. If you go to parrishbuilt.com, 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 right at the top of the homepage, there's this blue bar right there, if you're watching. That blue bar will take you directly to the LDI portal. And this is not a Parrish promotion. This is the Louisiana Department of Insurance. We at Parrish happen to be a certified fortified roofing company. So when you go apply for the grant, you can choose your contractors. We'd love it if you'd pick Parrish. We're on the list. But do business with someone you know. Repairs, replacements, all that good stuff. Gutter soft wash, parrishbuilt.com.